and she holds the knife up. Okay, she cuts out someone's tongue. When the warm blood flows upon your feet, so if you ever see Seafoam Children, it's just the dead bodies of mermaids. No big deal. Hello, creeps. Andy here, and today I wanted to talk to you about the disturbing story behind the Little Mermaid movie that we all love and grew up with. So this is a fairy tale written by Hans Christian Andersen. It was first published in 1837 as part of a collection of fairy tales for children. So I think that the Brothers Grimm fairy tales weren't actually for kids, but this was a story for children, which is kind of wild. I'll give you a whole synopsis of the story and how it's different from the original and kind of the weird dark parts of it. I've done this with a few other stories in the past. My favorite, I think, has been Cinderella, so I'll leave that one linked down below. That one is dark. I really enjoyed reading that one. But anyways, the Little Mermaid story is super fun too, so I thought I would just take you on this journey with me. I will also tell you where you can find it for free once I'm done. So the Little Mermaid starts by telling you that deep down in the ocean there was a castle of a king, and it gives you a little description of his castle. I'm going to be reading you quotes throughout. It says that its walls are built of coral and the long Gothic windows are of the clearest amber. The roof is formed of shells that open and close as the water flows over them. In this kingdom, there's this king. He is a widower, so his wife is dead, but he does live with his mother and his 6 daughters, so her granddaughters. But of course, there is one that is far more beautiful than the others, and that of course is our Little Mermaid. None of the characters in the story have names, so she is just the Little Mermaid. Oh, it also gives a little description of her. It says that her skin was as clear and delicate as a rose leaf, and her eyes as blue as the deepest sea. The only other description that we get is that her hair is wavy. It doesn't say the color of her hair. However, each of the granddaughters is allotted a piece of land, well, like in this, like land in the, okay, it's a garden. They get a garden in front of the kingdom, and they're each able to plant and do whatever they want with it, and the Little Mermaid chooses red flowers, and she references these red flowers a few times throughout the book, so maybe that's where the red associated with her hair comes from. Other than that, I'm not sure why else she would have red hair. But anyways, it says that she was a strange child, quiet and thoughtful, and her sisters were more interested in like finding things from shipwrecks and, you know, being under the water, but she was more concerned about things above sea. It said nothing gave her more pleasure as to hear about the world above the sea. She made her old grandmother tell her all she knew of the ships and the towns and the people and the animals. Her grandmother tells her that when you have reached your 15th year, you will have permission to rise up out of the sea and sit on the rocks in the moonlight while the great ships go sailing by. Then you will see both the forests and towns. And she's so excited about this. Each of her sisters gets to go on their 15th birthday, and she's just patiently waiting. They go up and they tell her all about what they've witnessed being above the sea. Finally, the time arrives on her 15th birthday that she gets to go above the sea. So she sees a ship. As the waves are rising up, they raise her and she can see inside one of the port windows, and it is of course a handsome prince on his 16th birthday. So they're all celebrating, partying. He goes out on deck and they're dancing and listening to music and all sorts of things. But a giant storm comes and destroys the ship. She saves the prince from drowning, and she sets him on the sand on the beach and kisses him a lot, which is like kind of weird, but and creepy, but you know. Anyways, she leaves him, and these girls come and rush to him and save him after he wakes up. So he has no idea that the Little Mermaid saved him. It's kind of creepy, but it's also like a reverse damsel in distress kind of situation. So anyways, she becomes pretty melancholy down on the ocean floor. She finds out where this prince's kingdom is, and so she pretty much stalks him. She just goes up and watches him all the time. Oh, really quick, I just wanted to point out that when the sisters go up, after they've all turned the age of 15, they go up together and they see a ship, and they all sing and like swim around the ship. And so I thought that this was reminiscent of sirens and like where the lore of mermaids came from, so I thought it was interesting that it was included in there. It also says that they tell them not to fear if their ship sank to the bottom, but then it says if the ship sank, the men were drowned and their dead bodies alone reached the palace of the Sea King. Yeah, definitely not gonna give any kids nightmares or anything. But anyways, so she's all melancholy, she's like stalking her prince, she's really sad, and she starts talking to her grandma about humans, and if they die because she just saved him. She's like, well, can humans not die then if they don't drown? Her grandmother says, no, they do die, but mermaids, we get to live to like 300, and then we turn into sea foam. So if you ever see sea foam children, it's just the dead bodies of mermaids. No big deal. But then her grandma says that after humans die, they have souls, and their souls can reach up to heaven, but mermaids don't have souls. And she's like, well, is there any way I can get a soul? And this is how you get a soul if you're a mermaid. Her grandma says, unless a man should love you so much that you were more to him than his father and mother, and if all his thoughts and all his love were fixed upon you, and the priest placed his right hand in yours, and he promised to be true to you here and thereafter, then his soul would glide into your body, and you would obtain a share in the future happiness of mankind. I don't want anyone's soul gliding into my body. It sounds a bit creepy. Anyways, she's like, hey, that sounds great. I kind of want that. So she decides to see the sea witch. Yes, the woman who we all know as Ursula. So the description of getting to the sea witch and her castle and her kingdom and like everything around it, it's super creepy and fun. I'm not gonna read everything to you, but she has to go by like whirling whirlpools and yeah, all this creepy stuff just to get there. There's also these plants leading up to the home that have in their grasp the dead skeletons of humans and mermaids. Oh, and also her home, her name's not Ursula, but the sea witch's home is made of the skeletons of humans. Oh, and she also has water snakes, like she has eels in the movie. The Little Mermaid doesn't like talk to Flounder or that little crab guy, or is he a lobster? I don't know, it's been a long time since I've watched Little Mermaid, but no fish are talked about in relation to the Little Mermaid. Like there are fish there because they're in the water, but that's about it. The Little Mermaid goes to meet the sea witch. The sea witch goes, I already know why you're here. You want legs, you want to go and flirt with that guy, I got you. And she's like, I'll give you legs with this potion that I made. But just know, one, it's gonna hurt like hell, and two, every time you take a step, it's gonna feel like you're stepping on knives. The Little Mermaid's like, man, that's a lot to ask, but you know, I really like this guy and I really want to be a human. Then the sea witch says, all right, but you'll never be able to be a mermaid again. And if the prince doesn't love you and marries another woman, your heart will break and you will die and turn to sea foam. And the Little Mermaid goes, okay. So she goes, okay, I want your voice because you have the most beautiful voice, so that will be your payment for you to give me your voice. Now, how does she take her voice? Does she sing and lock it up in a shell? Oh, no, my friends. Let me read to you how she steals the Little Mermaid's voice. The sea witch says, so put out your little tongue so that I may cut it off as my payment. She cuts off her fucking tongue. Just who at Disney? I just can't imagine these board meetings where they're like, oh yeah, plucked out eyes, plucked out tongues. We'll just make them into kids' movies. It'll be great. That must have been an interesting meeting. But anyways, she does this. She wants to be with the prince. She gets her tongue ripped out. She gets her fins turned into 2 feet. The prince finds her and he likes her. He like gives her kisses and stuff, but he also sees her as a little child. It says this, which I thought was kind of weird. It says she was given permission to sleep at his door on a velvet cushion. Okay. And then it also says, although her tender feet bled so that even her steps were marked, she only smiled and followed him. So yeah, she was just devoted to him. She loved him. She was obsessed with him. And he's telling her one day, like, the only girl that I'll marry is that girl that saved me when I almost drowned. And the Little Mermaid's upset because he doesn't know that she's the one that actually saved him. But he's like, but my parents want me to meet this other princess and I'm not gonna marry her. I only want to marry that girl. So he meets the princess and lo and behold, guess who it is? That's right, it's the girl that saved him on the shore after the Little Mermaid actually did all the legwork. So he's like, hey, you want to get married? And she's like, yeah. So they get married. They're on the ship when they get married. And after the wedding, the Little Mermaid is just kind of on the deck of the ship looking out into the water being like, well, this is my last night alive. It's gonna suck. I'm gonna turn into foam in the morning. And her sisters all appear with their hair chopped off. And they say that we cut off all our hair and we gave it to the sea witch so that she'll tell us how to help you. It says, she has given us a knife, see, it is very sharp. Before the sun rises, you must plunge it into the heart of the prince. When the warm blood flows upon your feet, they will grow together again into a fish's tail and you will once again be a mermaid. You can return to us to live out your 300 years before you are changed into the salt sea foam. And then it says, either he or you must die before sunrise. So she takes this knife and she sneaks into the bedchambers of the prince. and he's cuddled up with his new wife, and he's like whispering his name in his sleep because he's so in love with her. And she holds the knife up to plunge it into his heart, and then goes, "I can't do it. I love him so much." And instead, she throws the knife and herself into the sea and turns to sea foam. And so you must be thinking, she's dead, right? But alas, she is not dead. The ending's kind of weird. She's sea foam, but then she rises up, and it says the daughters of the air brought her to them, and after 300 years spent with them, since they do good deeds, that she can have a soul. But the ending is just like, I don't understand how it has to do with it. It's very weird. It says that after 300 years, we float into the kingdom of heaven, and it says that we may even get there sooner. We enter the houses of men where there are children, and for every day on which we find a good child that is the joy of his parents and deserve their love, our time of probation is shortened. The child does not know that when we fly through the room that we smile with joy at his good conduct. For we may count 1 year less of our 300 years, but when we see a naughty or wicked child, we shed tears of sorrow, and for every tear a day is added to our time of trial. Wait, I just realized that this is just manipulative and trying to tell kids to be good kids. But that's how it ends. Yeah, she's with these daughters of the air, whatever the fuck that means. So that is the story of The Little Mermaid. Quite different than the romanticized telling that we all grew up with. So yeah, let me know what you think. Oh, also, you can get this book for free if you just go, if you have the Kindle app. This is how I got it. It's this right here. It just says Andersen's Fairy Tales, Hans Christian Andersen, Amazon Classics. So if you just look this up on the Kindle app, you can download it for free and read The Little Mermaid for free. So yeah, I thought that was cool. And honestly, it's worth a read. It's just fun and creepy, especially related to the Sea Witch. And I really enjoyed it. And the Sea Witch, I feel like, isn't like, I mean, okay, she cuts out someone's tongue. But besides that, she's not really that bad of a person, you know? Like, she's not out to destroy anyone. She's just a sea witch. So I don't know, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was fun to read. Let me know what you guys want me to read and tell you the story about next. I have Pinocchio already downloaded, so maybe that will be the next one, but I also have the whole Grimm fairy tale story, so I can read any book in there and let you know how dark and disturbing it is. Please feel free to check out that Cinderella video because I really, really enjoyed reading that one. That one was a blast and super dark and creepy. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with, you guessed it, another horror video. Bye guys.